So the topic of surrender, I feel like, is a very controversial one for a lot of people. I think there's this misconception that surrender means not engaged, not participating. It's associated with laziness. It goes counterculture to this hustle culture that we find ourselves in, which is to strive and conquer and do and acquire. So why did you feel that this book was important to put out?
Yeah, at first, I can't say I felt like this book was important. And the truth is, I did not want to write this book. The truth is, this was not the book I wanted to write. This was not the book I envisioned writing. I tried to write every other book but this at first. But I think I had to surrender to the book about surrender. And so what happened was my first book was a bestseller. And so I thought for my second book, I'm going to be intelligent and I'm going to be really smart. I'm going to sort of re-engineer a sort of mega bestseller. And so I sat down with an entire whiteboard and I wrote 75 different topics and ideas and book titles and that I thought publishers would want, that I thought my agent would want, that I thought the world would love, that I thought my clients would resonate with. And the truth is, when I looked at this whiteboard, as much as they all seemed intelligent and great topics and titles, if I was really honest, none of those really resonated in my soul. I couldn't look you in the eyes and feel like a true depth of integrity saying, yes, this is what I'm meant to write about. It felt more like an interesting marketing idea. And they were great. Maybe one day I'll do the books. But the only word that stood out for me on that whiteboard, if I was honest, was the word surrender. And I resisted. I thought, for all the reasons you mentioned, misconceptions and misunderstandings, I thought, no, I don't want to write about this. But I soon realized that the word surrender had such a strong resonance and vibration and energy that I felt as though this was the book that was seeking to be written, that the book had a soul of its own. And so when I surrendered to it, everything flowed, everything came together, the ideas, the book, everything, the team, everything flowed. And that's what I knew. And so it wasn't really my intention to do that. And I would say that everything about my life began to make sense. Everything about my childhood began to make sense. My parents, and that's when I got really clear that, I've been prepared by life to write this book and translate surrender for the new generation. And so what also happened that became clear to me that this was the book was in 2016, the end of 2016, my mother, who I love, she was diagnosed with stomach cancer. And it was a devastating moment. When you realize the person you love the most is going to die, it hits you. And so I live in Los Angeles and I began flying back and forth from LA to London, where my mother lives, every month for 1 year, for 1 week out every month for 1 year. And I would be with her in chemo sessions. I'd be with her, taking care of her. We'd take walks, just being together. And about 7 months into this process, I realized not only for sure was my mother going to die, but the doctor said to us, there's nothing else we can do. You're definitely going to die. And that moment really hit me. And I looked my mother in the eyes. And this is where I see that the seed of the book was planted, but I was not even paying attention. I was not even aware. I looked my mother in the eyes and I said to her, my mother's a little Japanese woman. And I said to my mother, are you afraid? And my mother looked at me quietly and she said, no, I'm not afraid because I know I'm not this body. This body is just a temporary vehicle for my soul. And yeah, I will die, but even when I'm gone, I'll be guiding you from the other side. And so I'm not afraid because I know who I am. And I felt the conviction in her words. And so wanting to be a good son, I looked my mother in the eyes and I said, what can I do for you in your final days? Like, what do you need? What can I buy you? Where can I take you? What do you want? And my mother basically said, look, there's nothing that I want for my life. There's nothing I want for myself. There's nothing I need. The only thing I want is what God wants for my life. That's it. And it just really hit me, the simplicity of her words. And I saw that this entire year, she was like in the face of real, raw mortality, death, life. She was at peace. She wasn't attached to living. She wasn't attached to dying. She was surrendered, really, to just the highest unfolding of her soul's journey. And I saw that she had been living and demonstrating surrender, and in her surrender, she was free. And that's when I saw that surrender is the real key. It's the password to freedom. And that's when everything made sense. Everything clicked. I saw that my mother was teaching me the essence of surrender, and so I began to reflect and look at many of the people I really respected: Jesus, Buddha, Gandhi, Mother Teresa, Mandela, Bruce Lee, Muhammad Ali, folks that were like my childhood heroes even. And I saw that all of these folks, in some way, they all surrendered themselves to life, to the divine, to the infinite, to their soul, to the deeper impulse of what life was seeking to express through them. And in that surrender, they let go of their idea of how they thought their life should look. And in that letting go, I think they tapped into another dimension of life, another dimension of potential, another dimension of their own potential, another dimension of grace. And that's when I think life was able to use them in ways that was probably far beyond their own human capacity and capability to create a manifest. And so I think that surrender is the most powerful thing that we can do. As you mentioned, it seems controversial, but yes, I think there's many misconceptions about surrender. This idea that surrender is weak, surrender is passive, surrender is giving up. That if you surrender, you're waving the white flag. It means sitting there doing nothing. It means you're going to be a doormat. You're going to be taken advantage of. You're going to be left behind. You won't manifest your goals, dreams, and desires. You're going to get less in life. And I'm actually saying, no, if you really understand the real essence of true surrender as an active, powerful process, what if you didn't get less, but you got more than you could have projected and intended and planned with the limitation of your conscious mind, with the limitation of your own personal willpower? What if it was maybe not what you thought, but what if it was better? What if it was beyond? You look at Gandhi, who was living a life as a successful lawyer, going down one trajectory and one pathway in his life, and yet had he not surrendered and held on to the life he thought he should have, he wouldn't have let go and become the sort of Mahatma Gandhi, the great soul who he emerged to be. And so I think in many ways, that next level of our lives for all of us requires the next level of us. That next level of us requires that we surrender, requires that we let go of who we've been and what we know. But the challenge is, what we tend to do as human beings is hold on to who we were and what we knew as a function of sort of self-protection and safety and self-preservation. And we don't realize that in doing that, we are just blocking our blessing, blocking the next level of abundance and manifestation and love in our lives. And so surrender it's a letting go, or I should say a letting go of control or the illusion that we're even in control in the first place. It is when we stop trying to force life to fit our limited idea of how we think it should be and who we think we should be and how we think this relationship should look. It's when we take the limitations, off of life, and we become open and available to life showing us, life revealing itself to us, allowing life to lead us in many ways, because life, I think, has been around for much longer than us and will be around much longer than us. And so it has its own intelligence, And so for me, the old paradigm is a ego-based model for living and creating life. Like, get clear on what you want. You got to know what you want. And so we kind of set our goals and we get attached to what we want, but we might manifest what we thought we wanted, only to realize that what we thought we wanted was just what we thought we wanted, but isn't who we thought we were. It's not what we truly want. And so for me, the question isn't in surrender, like, what do I want? It's nice to get a sense of what you want. It's great. But I tell people, don't get so attached to it that your attachment now limits the infinite intelligence of life. Ask a different question. The question then becomes, what is it that life is seeking to manifest through me? what is it that my soul is seeking to express? What is it that God, the divine, the infinite intelligence is seeking to express, to speak, to create through me? I think when we can become attuned and aligned and feel into what that deeper expression is, then we can align with that and give 100% and go into action. Surrender is not going into action. It's just going into action without the attachment to the outcome.
Oh my gosh. All of that is so amazing.